Questions and Answers, Day 2, 50th Anniversary, Shivananda Yoga Camp.
Sahanavatu, Sahanavunatu, Sahaviryam Karavai, Tejasvinavaditamastu, Mahavidvishavai, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Bolo Sakura Shivananda Maharaj ki, Jai vishnu-devananda Maharaj ki, Jai Om Tat Sat. So, we continue what we had yesterday. So if someone has some questions to ask, you're very welcome to ask about Swami Vishnu, about Swami Shivananda, about yoga. That's it. Okay. So don't be shy. We are doing our performance morning and evening. You know, we have our talent show 6 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock in the evening. So once in a while it's your turn. Yeah.
For you, Swami Mahadevananda, how did you come to join the organization?
Let's repeat on yesterday.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I wasn't here. Maybe a synopsis.
Synopsis. Well, I came to Canada by accident. I was in Boston, and then that's how karma works. The travel agency with which I came to the United States sent me a telegram telling me that my return to Europe, I was in Paris, going to college there, school, not college, sorry, said it's from Montreal, not from Boston. So then I had to come from Montreal from Boston to Montreal. And luckily at that time was a Expo 67 up to 68, lasted 1 year. So I went to see there. And then, so now what do? I have a few days left. So I came up to the camp to a telephone directory, so Shivananda Yoga Center. So that sounds like a long name. Anyway, he said, can I meet anybody? I said, yeah, this is Swami from India, from Rishikesh, from Shivananda Ashram, very reputable. I said, I know that, Shivananda Ashram. Can I meet him? He said, he's not in Montreal, he's in Laurentians. So it was Saturday morning. So I took a ride up. I didn't see him Sunday, I met him on Saturday, I met him on Sunday. And then the only thing he told me was stay. I was trying to talk, anything. He said, stay here. So I decided to stay. But then I took it literally. I said, maybe you should stay here, for good. Or at least, wait until the papers in Boston go through, and then I go back to Boston to study. But I said, the problem is the immigration. So on Wednesday I went to immigration. And I said, look, I have an Italian passport. It's 3 months or 6 months. I don't remember how long was it. Is there any way I can stay here longer? At least I need 6 months or even a year. So they told me the only way you can stay here if you are a landed immigrant. At that time, honestly, to come to Montreal was not my idea. Okay? Not because I hated it, but it was not on my plan. And so I said, okay, I'll stay as immigrant. So right then and there, they give me immigration stamps, okay, and I said as an immigrant. Then in November, I had a strong desire to join the organization. And then in Christmas time, I spent Christmas here. And there was an old building there which is burned, it's not more. And he told me, I need some stuff in Montreal. Okay, I'll go. So on January 2nd, 68, I started in Montreal. That's it. Then goes on Montreal, came to New York for a while, 75, then I came back in 77. I went to Washington, D.C., I went to Los Angeles several times, stayed at the Center in Los Angeles too. We had opened up Grass Valley at that time, it was closed for a long time. Then came back here. And back to Grass Valley. When I was in Grass Valley, he told me, go to India. And I said, go to Nayadam. I said, where the heck is Nayadam? South India. Okay, so 3 days later, I was in South India, the place that you know. That's it, in a nutshell. I hope tomorrow nobody asks me again.
Okay.
All right.
Om Namah Shivaya. This is directed to anyone that is willing to answer. Faith is something that's hard to. Faith is something that's difficult to hold on to or to believe in, and you all are senior disciples of someone. For me personally, I see this little brown man that came over to the West and taught all these people that were willing to learn something about themselves. How did you find the trust in your own belief systems to know what faith was and to follow it?
Well, it's quite easy. Because yoga has a system, and you start practicing the system, and then you make experiences, and your faith grows. And the teacher is representing the system. I mean, when you really start, this is how it is. And you practice what he says, and you make experiences. So the next thing, and if one doesn't practice, the faith will diminish. So.
Basically, you have to feel what you feel inside. If you feel good doing what you're doing, you feel peace, you feel that that's the way, so to speak. And then you get the right choice. And then you have to keep up. And then the Guru's blessing will be there. That's all there is. The main thing is you have to be sure is that's what I want in life. That makes your faith already strong. Okay? Personally, when I said, yoga is my life, I said, that's it. That's what I want. Then I say, amen. All the rest, forget. My family thought I was crazy. I'm not crazy because I found my peace. So if you sense that's in life, that's what you want, then all the rest will come by itself. I mean, the Guru will make sure it comes. Okay? But again, a mile starts with one step, and you have to make the first step. That's it is. It has to come from inside. You have to feel it. You have to say, that's what I want. That's me. That's my contribution to life, to society, to people, etc., etc. Then all the rest, I said, forget about money, this and that. If there is a reason, no, anything will come. The main thing is I found what I want, peace. That's it. All the rest has no importance. And it will come to you more than I expected to be, actually. Yeah. And I know there's more to come, so I'm not worried about that. The main thing is, can I get this peace? That's the main thing.
Maybe know the different motivations why you practice yoga. The first one is normally, but for many people, is suffering. Some kind of physical suffering or emotional suffering or a spiritual void. So that takes you to a certain extent. Then you have curiosity. It takes you to a certain point. There may be other motivations, but really what keeps you on the yoga path is love for yoga. It's the love for yoga, that you love it. You hear it in the different shapes now, maybe it becomes confirmed from inside because you love it. Because each time there's more than you thought. So that when that motivation is the love for it, so you're not expecting necessarily my suffering will end right now, and if it doesn't end right now, I lose my faith. And the curiosity also has its limitations. What else it says? You get a gain for power or wealth, that you have more control over certain things than others or whatever. It's an advantage, makes you feel different than others, superior. All that doesn't take you too far, but the love for yoga, yoga has such a power in the sense that it can infuse so much love in you, then that carries on.
What I feel that at the beginning, when you meet yoga, it's like a honeymoon. Everything is wonderful, new. You see yourself making some progress, and it's all very good. And then there are crises coming, and this is when the faith is shaken. And from my experience, what helps the most is to develop your own bhakti. So there's a traditional bhakti, like to have a relationship with the divine, but the bhakti towards the teacher is very, very helpful. So that's also a training. I mean, you met Swamiji or not? You have not met Swamiji, of course. But still, even though they are not here physically, you can train yourself to feel the present, just looking at the picture, even doing tratak on the picture. And at some point, if you open your heart, they start talking to you, the eye starts becoming alive. And then when that connection is established, and you know you can always go back to it, then you feel I can go through lots of crises because that connection will always save me. If you can reestablish it at any time, and then your faith becomes stronger and stronger when that connection can be reestablished. Because you know you can go through crisis, but you can always go back to this.
That's the question everyone wanted to ask, I guess.
So before Swamiji left his body, I was wondering if you could talk about some of the words of what he left with you to carry on the organization, maybe sadhanas or the vision of what he shared for you to continue before he left here.
Proper exercise, proper breathing, proper relaxation, proper diet, positive meditation. That's how he's still doing. This is basic. It actually, that's the Upadesha, the sadhana. Exercise. It's like I mentioned many times, an apple seed. In the 5 points, you have the seed of immortality. But they are so simple that anybody, anytime, anywhere can do them. Like an apple, it has to be put in the right ground, right place, right time, right cultivation. And an apple seed tree will come with many apples, which you replant. You can cover your plant. But when you look at, someone used to say, the apple seed, there's nothing there. You can crush it between the fingers. But there's the potentiality to cover up the whole earth. So the 5 points, something very simple. Anybody can do that. As long as you have two arms and 2 legs, anybody can do it. But into the practice called sadhana, something from within starts to crack up at the beginning, and then a new kind of value, understanding, horizon start to come in. That's called yoga, in simple words. And the more you practice, the more the seeds are coming out. So then it's up to us, once you understand, to cultivate that. It becomes the culture of cultivating that knowledge. And the more you practice, the more you discover new angle, new awareness, new understanding that you did not have when you heard for the first time proper exercise, proper breathing, proper relaxation, positive diet, etc., etc. But with the practice, you go deeper, 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 and you start to understand. As mentioned in TTC, it's like a writer wrote a book with 5,000 pages. then the publisher said, yeah, it's too long. I need 500. He puts 500 pages. It's too long. Put 100 pages. Okay, 100 pages is too long. Give me one sentence. Give me one word. So this is the 5 points. It's one word. But to unravel the intrinsic meaning, you have to practice and practice and practice. And then slowly you start to read a book of 5,000 pages and beyond that, so to speak. Okay, that's also what a mantra is all about. Very simple words, but in practicing, it unravels the whole knowledge behind. It goes through, 1 page, 100 pages, 500 pages, 5,000 pages, the whole universe. Okay, I got it. Okay, well, it takes time. Okay, lots of patience and all the good qualities a human being has to be brought forth. There is a complete overhauling of the human nature from A to Z in a positive way. But like anything in yoga, it takes time. It's not a quick fix. Okay.
So since I was most of the time in Europe, and I would come here for the summer, and Swamiji was going through these stages of slowly getting ready. As he said, I'm in the, how do you always say, I'm in the waiting loop, no? I'm in the landing loop, So he would prepare us that he would leave his body soon, but we never knew when he was going to be. And we prepared ourselves, and then here and there he dropped sentences. Maybe he did the same thing to you, but he dropped them to me, saying one sentence was, we had a retreat in Austria, lots of people came, and then he just turned around and he said, you're going to be very safe here. And then nobody, as if nobody heard it, I don't know if anybody heard it, you're going to be very safe here. Make ashram. So that was registered. Then I came here last summer and he was in the Orange House lying on the couch and he said, how is Europe? And then I would explain him, tell him everything, every detail, like a mother telling fairy tales to the child, I felt like he was listening to every word. And then he said, always tell me like that. And then he said another time, for us, for myself, I don't know about the others, but for myself, Swamiji was the yoga for me. He was my deity, or he still is, and he was everything. So he said to me, from now on, you tune into Master. Oh, tuning into Master. Yes, you tune into Master. So that's one other instruction he gave. And these are the ones I recall. It was like building up slowly, till the end. And then I was not there at the very end. Swami Mahadevanandaji was there. He was in India. So to me, the last time I saw him was here at the camp. It was like, that summer. August, September, and then in November he left his body. Oh, then I think that was the last sentence he gave me. Take care of everything. Yeah, take care of everything. And that, of course, means what Swami Mahadevanandaji is saying, the 5 points and the whole thing, take care of everything. But when he said that, I felt burden on my shoulder,
I remember when I took my TTC in 85 already, and it was the first time I met Swami vishnu-devananda, and he said already, I'm going to die soon. It was in 85, so he really prepared everybody so well in advance, and finally he had the stroke in 89, and then it became obviously more possible. But one day, when he declared in, I can't remember which year it was, the first time he went to India to die, so we had a staff meeting and he said to everybody, okay, now I'm going to India to die. And he wanted to go to his cave and to leave his body in his cave. So, of course, everybody was talking, somebody's going, so many staff came from everywhere, and I was satsang in his room at Samadhi Estate, and it was completely packed and very emotional, obviously. And then our preparation were made, and then it was in the TTC like this, I think in July, and then he left, and then we went to the airport, like around 60, 70 staff. We overtook the airport, everybody was in the lounge there, and then finally he left, and we felt that's it, he's not coming back. Then you probably know the story, went to India, and then went to his cave, and his health really deteriorated, but he did not die. But his kidney failed, and then it was so painful, he had to be taken to the hospital. They were doing, and then finally they said, better go back to the West to get some treatment. So when we heard the news, like 1 month later, he had the camp that he was coming back, it was like a ghost was coming back, because we thought he's supposed to be dead, no? So he came, and I remember we were in the main lecture of the TTC, and he came straight from the airport, and he said, I want to speak to the TTCs. So he was on the stretcher, he was really in very bad shape, and then he was brought on the stage, and we gave him a microphone, and then he told the TTCs, I went to India to die, but it didn't work. I think it was 2 years before he died, in 1990, or 91. And then he said, I knocked at the door, Vaikuntha, but they did not open. And then he spent a bit more time at the camp, and then I can't remember how much time, some months later he announced again, I'm going to India to die. So again, big staff meeting, everybody came, not completely everybody, because second time, you know. So, but still, we went to the airport, same scenario, everything, and then he went, and again he went to the cave, and guess what, he did not die. So again he came back, and I think like this, it was, I can't remember, 4 or 5 times like this, you know, that he went to die, and then he came back and didn't die. And the last time was in 93, in November, he said, I'm going to India to die. And nobody came because, you know, we did so many times before, so no big emotion that time. We were so prepared, okay, just one more trip to India. But that time he really died, but you know, it was like so rehearsed, the whole thing, I guess, for us to become detached, and it was so natural, finally, the way he died, so very beautiful how he prepared us to. I remember one thing he said, that my body now is in very bad shape, and when I will not have this body, I can help you more. And I was really very surprised when he said that, and then this is something we could see after he left his body. You know, was a concern, obviously, the Guru goes, what is going to happen to the organization, is really the light from this organization, and then we saw that nothing really went down, on the contrary, I think we had more students in most of the sectors. It was really like that somehow, we don't know how it works, where it is, and you know, it is said that he's one with the absolute, but really what does this mean, we don't know, but definitely the presence is here, the guidance is here.
I only remember when Swamiji went to the cave, to stay in the cave over the winter. That was, he was before he had the strokes. He had gone to the cave once, and he liked it so much, and then he wanted to stay the winter in Gangotri, which meant preparation and have everything with him for the whole winter. And from India, before going up to Gangotri, he sent a postcard to every center, just one sentence: keep up your sadhana. He wrote it himself. That was kind of an instruction.
So, from listening to you, we know now that you were well prepared, and Swami prepared you as much as possible, but we're never quite ready for this, generally in life. This is a big event, you know, when somebody leave their body. So, but how did you prepare, and how did it affect you, like in your faith and also in the new role you had to take, because the leader, the guide, was not there anymore. So how did you prepare, and how did it affect you? How did it change, if it changed anything?
Well, the beginning was tough. Even though he prepared us, okay. Actually, before he left, he put 7 acharyas, 7 senior people, to look after the organization and the journey in geographical area. Okay, Swami Vivekananda is Europe, Sananda, Shivasananda, etc. But then we took it, okay, a ceremony had to put a bandana around the head, do you remember that? And here, so you are Acharya, and then he created the Matsya Acharya, and then Matsyendranath, etc., etc. So anyway, still here. We didn't worry, at least personally didn't worry about it. And then, of course, when the first time he said, I'm going, I was here too, I wasn't so happy to hear that. Okay, and then the second time, third time, I said, okay, we heard it before. Already once trained us, during the summer, we did not come in satsang. So, once Swami Shambhudananda and myself went to see, said, what's going on, what's not here? We went there, and the door was locked. And then he called up and he said, I'm at the airport. My car is there, come and pick it up. And there's a mess inside the glove compartments. Whoa, in the middle of the sun, full of people. What to do? Anyway, we went to the airport. We opened up the car, it's still there in the garage, yeah. So I'm going, I don't know when I'm coming back, that was it. I'm going, I don't know when I'm coming back. Take care of it. Oh my God, you're a young chicken, you don't know anything. And in the middle of the summer, just drop out and go. And also the body said, where did he go? We thought probably India. We checked the online, this and that and this, and now we're going to give you the name. So we spent the summer here alone. And you had to do TTC, ATTC. And finally, we heard that a Japanese expedition to the Himalayas came by, and they thought they saw a man that looked like Swami Vishnu. So they made inquiries, and we found out it was in the cave. Okay, there was a preparation. And suddenly, pop, gone. So we had to manage. The ATTC, remember, he gave it once or twice, and then he called Swami Brahmananda, another Swami, and myself. So, okay, give it a TTC. I said, I was not even here during TTC. I was in charge of the kitchen. Most of the time, I was not even present to the lecture. So now when you give TTC, don't worry about it. So, luckily we have some few tapes, listen to it. So when he came to the point that he left, mentally was prepared, personally. Okay? Emotion, of course, is not prepared. We still miss, like today, wish he would stay here. It's 50th anniversary. All his job that he's done. So in a day like this, that really I miss it a lot. Okay, because he would joke, he would be happy, he would be inspired, and inspire all of us. Okay, so in a day like this, and yeah, we miss it very much. But otherwise, at the beginning, it was a little bit of adjustment from all of us. Okay, at least from my point, and I believe everybody else. But then things have to go on. So you have to stand up on your own feet, and you have to, give the direction, give the instruction, give us everything. And only when we saw, from his point of view, that we were ready, then he left. So I always thought that way. I said, anyway, if he's gone, we somehow we are prepared to do what you're supposed to do. So just do it, and that was it. But, basically, the person I miss him on particular occasions, then supposed to be there. And I know that it will be there, but physically it's not there anymore. Even though he's breathing down our neck, it is the jugular vein. It's closer to us than the jugular vein, but physically it's not there. Okay? But you get used to it. Okay? Life has to go on. We told him many times.
Going down the line again. Well, I'm sure every acharya has a little bit of a different feeling about it. As you all know, I mean, I was in Europe and Swamiji was always Bahamas or here or India. He would come to Europe maybe 2 or 3 times a year for a short visit, and that was it. So at the beginning, I didn't really miss him much, because I had to learn. I mean, I'm sure everybody else had to tune into him. I was always thinking, what would he do then? And then I would slowly move towards that. But now I miss him more than it's 19 years now. Now I really miss him, I must say. I really miss him. And I don't know what it is, whether it's an emotion or whether it's a longing, just to share, I suppose. Or Europe has grown so much and the ashrams are growing and he's not there, People haven't seen him. I mean, here when you come to the camp or when you come to America, North America, you find and meet more people who knew Swamiji than in Europe. I mean, there's hardly anybody anymore who knows Swamiji there. And I feel sometimes a little lonely about it. But when he actually left his body, I accepted it. It was like that. His body was going. We were there for the Jala Samadhi when the body was offered to Mother Ganga. And we did puja to his body before and everything. And it was just a normal thing actually, It goes back to the elements and Swamiji was still there and it was all fresh. But it's 19 years now, It's a long time. It's a nice question.
Not only when you miss it personally, when you start to understand what he went through while he was living with us, and we are just little boys, little girls, and sometimes, what the heck is he talking about, Now, all of us, I'm sure, went through the same experience, and oh my God, I understand what he had to go through. Why did this, why did that, etc., etc. And that probably when we miss it too, because now we understand why. At that time he couldn't understand because he had no experience. He had a mission, he had to accomplish the mission, and he left. Now when I came to India, I realized, oh my God, what am I doing here? So when Swami Vishnu came to America, what is he doing here? I mean, I don't speak the language, I don't understand the people, I don't understand the philosophy. The climate is different, food is different, everybody is different. What the heck am I doing here? But you have to fulfill master vision. Okay, so I have to go to a lot of experiences which are outside in the Buddhist culture. So when I go to other places outside here, I just understand, oh my God, I understand what you have to go through, at least a little bit. I'm not Swami Vishnu, God forbid. But at least I understand from a human point of view what you have to go through. At that time you miss it a lot. When you see nothing. Look what he has done for all of us. And at that time, personally, I couldn't understand all the time.
Someone talk on. You want to say something?
So, what impressed me the most the last 2 years or so when Swamiji was here in that very contemplative state where he was not giving lectures anymore and so on. When you would meet him, he would receive you as if you had just gone outside to drink a glass of water and just for 5 minutes had left the place and had come back. He would not respond to anything like, oh, it's been a long time, now I'm back, and so on. It was beautiful. So you were right there. The moment you stepped in, there was this intense presence, total presence there, and it was wonderful when you arrived. But then came the time when you had to go. And then I found myself like a complete fool, trying to say words like, I have to go, my plane is in 3 hours. So Vishnu was looking and there was no mirror, there was no corresponding reality. He was again treating you like you're going to fetch a glass of water for 5 minutes. So that was especially in the last years. Then, of course, it was a shock when Swamiji wasn't there anymore physically. But what happened then is that one of his main missions, I think, which is the teacher's training course, it grew exponentially. We had maybe 6 TDCs by the time Swamiji left per year. Now it's 50. And at the time that Swamiji was here, TDC meant that Swamiji's energy was there. If he was not there physically, he had sent somebody who he would speak to or something. It was still something physically connecting. Now, each of these TDCs is still, a TDC is like a 1 month long distance flight. You take off and you fly. And the turbulences, things happen. You know, you only land after a month. And it's intense. It's never the same. It's a challenge. And there are several going on at the same time, several TTCs. And when that started to happen, and when we would meet amongst us, at least twice a year we meet, and it's not just the acharyas, others also come along, and that you actually get the report, how it was, how intense it was, and Swamiji's presence was there, and you realize his presence was there, at the same time it was there, at the same time it was there. So that's really wonderful.
Just, not just before I left, but maybe, I don't know, some months before I left, somehow I had the courage at some point to go to Swamiji and ask him that question. Everybody had in their mind what will happen after he would go. So, as Swami Shivasan said, towards the end he was not talking so much, and he was very much using that book that we read from every day, the Shivananda Upanishad. So he didn't say, I asked that question, and he didn't answer, and he pointed at the book. So I took the book, and then he told me, just open it, and then, so I prayed, and then I opened the book, and it was this message of Master, starting by, you are the master of your destiny, and you create your own destiny through your thoughts, and basically it's up to you what you do with it. So basically, when I give everything now to you, and it's up to you what you do with it. So it's given you so much responsibility, but also so much trust. And of course, you have to grow to the level where you can really carry responsibility, but that's an extraordinary opportunity for growth that he provided for all of us with so much trust.
What is the function of the executive board, and what is your vision for the future of this organization?
I have to put the glasses, you want me with the vision, okay? That's too far. Same vision that Swamiji had, okay? To help people to understand themselves. Okay? Humanity, as we know, is going through a very difficult period. And difficult because most of the time we don't know where we are going. And the only answer is within ourselves. And that's his motto, health is wealth, and yoga shows the way to find out is inside us. When Master told him, go to the West, because a lot of people are reincarnating there, they need direction, and he gave us the direction. Again, simplify are the 5 points, but also it was very much, extremely very much on the social issue. I wouldn't say political, but social issue. You know, first went to Cuba with Kanti Devi, I believe, then he went to Ireland with, what's the name of the actor? Peter Sellers, between the Irish, Catholic and Protestant. Then he went to Egypt, did the Yom Kippur War, with the Egyptian and Israelis. Then he went to the Shah, during the celebration of 2,000 years, whatever. Then he went to, during the war, Bangladesh and Pakistan. And then finally he went to Berlin, the Berlin Wall. Israel, okay, so he just had some very important issue. I remember another time, that in India there was a period of, how do you call that period, Indira Gandhi? Emergency period. The Indira Gandhi made himself practically a dictator of the country. And so there was a lot of backlash in Canada and the United States about that. And he went mad. He said, these people don't understand why she's doing what she's doing. And he did buy a half-a-page space or full-page space in the New York Times, Los Angeles Times, and Washington Post. And he did write to the American people why he did take the power over her hands. But the point was that they didn't have any money. And these ads had cost $150,000, $100,000 each. I remember I was in New York, he came one day and said, how much money you have? Well, I said, 5,000, I remember, I got $5,000 to pay the electricity, and give me the money. So, okay. And then when we heard it was for an ad for Indira Gandhi, at that time India for us was, far away. Nobody was in, so what the heck, Indira Gandhi had to pay all that money for what? And then he kept explaining to us why, okay? So he had this to bring the peace in the world, that's all. And that's what, in our own little way, we're trying to bring peace in the world, okay? Through what? Through yoga, what he taught us to do, that's all. What the vision in the future is, he only knows, okay? From my point of view, okay, it's just surrender to what he wants. And the more we surrender, and the more we see clearly what he wants, okay? But I believe for the time being is find peace, that's all we can do. Okay, it's no use to go outside and try to change society and try to change the world, it's too late. Society is still rotten in every single aspect of it, at all levels. What are you going to do? Revolution? So you change yourself, society will change itself. That's all you can do. There's no climatic vision or not so far, as far as I know.
Well, it's quite a question you're asking, because it can be answered intellectually. It can also be answered spiritually. So intellectually, I have no goal, I have no aims, because, the aim in itself is already to find yourself, the yoga that's already there. So then the techniques of yoga, well, what we learned, of course, it all comes from India, and then we're teaching it in the West. That is a little bit of a thing I'm thinking about, what are we going to do in the future? Because the youth is getting very outgoing and how am I going to say this? They have respect, but they do not take any word anymore just for the word, You have to really be there with them and explain them why and what and so on. So that has to change a little bit, I think. We cannot just hide anymore behind the scriptures and say, oh, this and that and so on. So my sentence, what holds me is adapt and adjust. What's happening. Adapt and adjust and accommodate, And then at the same time, you bear that insult and you bear that injury because people laugh at you. What? You're sannyas? What? You're practicing this? Why do you worship this? So bear insult, bear injury, and this is really the highest goal. And to hold on to this is really what, for myself, is the goal and the aim. And then, there was a Sanskrit scholar. He explained me what acharya really means. I always thought it was a master or something. It means someone who's practicing the teachings, That's an acharya. You probably all know this, but to me it was quite, when I thought, my God, this is what Swamiji, he gave us a title. The title is not for free. You have to practice, what you are teaching. That means you are then an acharya. So this is really where I'm personally holding on to. Then the organization, I think, is okay in holding together. Sorry, Swamiji, but that's my thought. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
I would like to add is, my impression is that yoga as such, maybe with the exception of a few countries, now there is no more need to to bring yoga as something completely unknown to any place. Yoga has traveled all over the globe now already. But will we be able to keep up that level of practice where we can sit together like we are now sitting together? The satsang element. Can we have satsang? Because in satsang something happens which goes beyond the intellectual and beyond the energy level. It's not like you have five people in satsang, so that's a 5 people satsang quality. Then you have 10 and it becomes a 10 people quality. As soon as people come together, there is that. And Jesus, I think it's something Jesus saying, wherever 2 or 3 come together in my name, I'll be there. And this is put in very personal words, but the word satsang is a little bit more open. It just says the truth is there. The truth is there where people get together. And I very much hope that we'll be able to inspire other yoga teachers who have learned with us to come and slowly, that they get the courage and the inspiration and the initiative to start satsang alongside with teaching classes. Because really, that peace of mind and that inner growth, it cannot happen without that part. I know many of you are yoga teachers and really very much encourage it. Sometimes people get a little bit overwhelmed by the intense format and the formal format of satsang as it is present in an ashram, or how we do it maybe 2 or 3 times a week in the evening in one of the yoga centers. But what I hear from the early days, which I didn't see, Swamiji didn't have all the details in the satsang format that we have now. It grew slowly. And so it is perfectly fine to do that yourself the way that you can stand up for it, and that it can attract people of your community, your friends, and so on. And that makes yoga alive. That gives the possibility for the spirituality to yoga to manifest, to have a little bit of satsang at home.
Maybe just one thing I would like to add is that nobody knows, of course, what's going to happen in the world, but the situation everybody is very uncertain on so many levels now, and so it can be that times get even much more rocky than they are now, and that we can see already a lot of people are losing their balance on all levels, also on the emotional level. And the tools that Swamiji gave us and Swami Shikara gave us are extraordinary, because basically he's teaching you that yoga is balance. And when somebody practices this, then there's definitely more balance coming from that person. And that balance can help to balance so many other people around who are losing their balance. So maybe our role is already like this, but as yoga teachers and practitioners, to help if there is more chaos than the way that there is now, to try with our limited means, but still to keep some balance for as many people as possible, to stay balanced in that time of great chaos and transformation that we may be going through.